What's going on YouTube? So there are a lot of excellent products in the three-row crossover market. However, few have made the splash that the Kia Telluride and Hyundai Palisade have. These new offerings to the segment went straight from unknown to award-winning, and are considered by many to be two of the top products in the entire category. Now, after getting some changes for 2022, let's compare these fully loaded examples to see which sibling is the best for you and your family. So like always, let's kick things off by covering the pricing and equipment. One of the big things both of these have are a lot of baked-in value, as Korean cars are known for. Starting with the Telluride, we have the SX all-wheel drive trim with the optional Prestige package, Nightfall package, and a few other items. The price has risen slightly this year, so fully loaded with destination, we're setting it just over $51,000. For the Palisade, we are also using the fully loaded trim level called Calligraphy. Its starting price is much higher, but there's also almost no additional options you can add to it. All told, it comes in at $360 less than the Kia at $50,650. But let's get into the comparison by starting off with the exteriors. For those of you who don't already know, these two are related to each other and share a lot mechanically, but as far as the visuals, you really wouldn't know that they're related. They both have bold designs for the segment, but the Hyundai's shield-like grille has more bling. The Telluride's grille would also usually have a silver finish, but the Nightfall edition gives the entire front end a cool stealth look. Pushed into the corners, both have interesting full LED lighting, the Telluride with amber daytime running lights, and the Palisade with a unique cascading design. One difference worth noting though is that the Kia has fog lamps. Checking out the sides, they are pretty much the same length, and they both have 20-inch alloy wheels, even though the designs couldn't possibly be more different. The back is the only area where you can almost see some relation to each other, since they have similar looking vertical LED taillights, their names spelled out across the back, and dual exhausts that are mounted on the right side. All the Kia logos have been updated this year. As we move beyond the styling, you'll find more feature differences, like the fact that both the mirrors are heated with LED turn signals and blind spot monitoring, but only the Telluride's power fold. Now, in addition to the blind spot monitoring systems, both Hyundai and Kia give you their entire safety suites as standard equipment. That means they have automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, and auto high beam headlights, across the entire lineup, not just these fully loaded models. They both also come equipped with the longest warranty in the business, 5-year 60,000-mile basic and 10-year 100,000-mile powertrain. However, only Hyundai includes 3 years of complimentary maintenance. Finally, the last thing to mention on the outside is that they both have 5,000-pound tow ratings, with auto-leveling rear suspensions. Alright, so that's it for the exteriors. So now let's check out the praised luxury cabins before we take them out for a test drive. So walking up to the vehicles, both models have smart entry systems, remote start, and the typical key fobs for their brands. And first opening up the doors, again you'll find nothing similar about these two designs. Each are beautiful in their own way, and both are more upscale than what is usually found at this price point. One example of that is the fact that both have high-end Nappa leather seating with elaborate stitching and quilting designs. As far as the seats themselves, both have heating, ventilation, 2-person memory, and thigh extension, but the Palisade has 4-way lumbar adjustment. Now once fully inside the cabins, you can begin to take in just how luxurious they are. The Telluride uses a mixture of stitched soft-touch plastic, very realistic faux wood trim, and then covers the center console and the signature handlebars in Nappa leather. Likewise, the Palisade also has a soft-touch upper dash, faux wood trim, and leather center console. But what really puts it over the edge is that it has additional quilted leather on the door trim, as well as real metal speaker grills. After startup, you'll see a big difference at the gauges. The Palisade uses a 12.3-inch full digital gauge setup with high-end graphics and animations, while the Telluride sticks with a more traditional analog arrangement. This gives the Palisade more customizability and wow factor. However, both of them still have the blind spot camera system as well as head-up displays. Coming back to the steering wheels, both are leather-wrapped, heated, and manual adjusting. Next up, we have the very important aspect of storage, where the Hyundai really stands out. That's certainly not to say that the Kia is bad, since it still has more than most in the class. But the Palisade has both a giant center console and another huge bin in front of that, which can be reconfigured with or without cup holders. Additionally, there is a center pass-through, so this is probably the class leader when it comes to storage. That center pass-through is made possible by the Palisade's use of an electronic shifter. We won't get into personal preference here between electronic and traditional, but regardless of which model you choose, you'll still have an excellent 360-degree camera system. The next stop is the climate controls, where both give you a 3-zone automatic setup, controlled with physical buttons. And then after that, we have the audio systems, so let's go ahead and give them a listen. Both sound systems sound great, and there's basically no way to distinguish between them. And now that brings us to the infotainment systems. While they have slightly different designs, they are exactly the same software-wise and with the 10.25-inch displays. They both have navigation, split-screen abilities, wired Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay. And finally, the last things to mention up front are that both have auto-dimming mirrors with HomeLink, premium Alcantara headliners, and dual-panel panoramic moonroofs. Alright, now moving on to the rear areas. As you would expect, they share identical dimensions, and both are larger than the Highlander and Pilot for reference. They also share most of the rear features, though not 100%. These high-end models come with heated and ventilated captain's chairs, which is a super rare feature. And they also have manual sunshades, rear climate controls, 2 charger USB ports, and a household outlet. One tiny detail difference though is that the Palisade's rear windows are not one-touch automatic. Moving on to the third row of seats, both crossovers have a very convenient one-touch folding and sliding mechanism to give you a nice pathway. And once in the third row, they are again the same as far as measurements. They also share dedicated vents and charging USB ports, but only the Palisade has power reclining abilities. Now moving around to the rear, both have smart opening tailgates, and once they open up, you'll find some of the best cargo capacities in the class. Once again, they are pretty much evenly matched, besides for a small Telluride advantage behind the third row. That advantage is countered by the fact that Hyundai's third row is power folding, however. We still have a close comparison, so now let's head out on the road to see if there's any significant differences to consider there. As should be clear at this point, these two don't look anything alike and have more differences than you would think, but that starts to change for the areas that you can't see. For starters, they have the same 3.8-liter V6 engine, rated at 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque, the same 8-speed automatic transmission, and all-wheel drive system.
Nice.
Alright, and there we go with an initial acceleration in the 2022 Telluride. So, the engine situation is going to remain the same for the 2022 model year. So you still got the 3.8-liter naturally aspirated V6 engine. It's going to be making 291 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque, which are definitely class competitive numbers, and it certainly feels strong right off the line.
at 63 miles per hour in this 2022 Palisade.
As you would expect, the driving dynamics are also very similar, and both are excellent. They have precise and nicely weighted steering setups, and feel very maneuverable in a way that most three-rows don't. Ride quality is one of the only places you can tell a bit of difference, as it feels like the Palisade is a few percent softer and the Telluride a few percent tighter in terms of control.
Refined is this Palisade's mission, of course. Sorry, I gotta look is there, but as far as like the ride quality, I mean, it does such a good job. As far as comparing it to the Telluride, this is actually going to be what we think is a little bit softer sprung, so this is going to have one of the best ride qualities in the segment. I think this might be number one. It just is so comfortable. The seats definitely play into that with this beautiful Napa leather that's quilted.
Right, and for those of you who are curious, I know a lot of cross-shopping is done between the Palisade and this. I would say the Palisade is just like 5% softer sprung, but it's that's just because we've been in both of them so extensively. We can definitely comment on that, but definitely top of the line ride quality.
And we'll get the sound level reading here.
Additionally, they are very quiet inside the cabins, but the Telluride slightly edges it out in both our decibel measurements.
53.3.
55.
We're going to be sitting at 56.5 decibels for the Palisade. Certainly very quiet to my ears in this cabin. It just seems very isolated from everything around you. Now,
and finally, finishing this part up, they have the same fuel economy rating of 19 city, 24 highway, 21 combined. So there is barely any price difference between these two, but I still want to mention dealer markups and supply. Nowadays, both of these are likely to have a markup, though generally speaking, the Palisade has been the easier of the two to get a hold of over the past 3 years. So there you have it. These two closely matched siblings fought it out every step of the way. Like I said at the beginning, they are undoubtedly two of the top products in the class, and for most people it will probably just come down to personal preferences about styling and features. With this duo, you really can't go wrong. Anyways, thanks for joining us for this Car Confections comparison, and we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel to keep seeing more comparison videos, as well as our signature full review videos. Take care and stay safe out there.